Dr. Scott Robinson, welcome back to the High Vibration Living Podcast.
Nice to be back.
I've probably have had you as a guest on here more than anybody else on the show, which is such a blessing and a pleasure because you are the example of what I want more people to have into their life, which is somebody that has your medical background and your connection to God and spirituality. And I feel like that is the future of health, is connecting that true medical knowledge, healing traditions, and a connection to God and faith and love and humanity. So thank you so much for what you're doing. You're very brave to practice in the way that you do. And I just very much appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you too. This all started because of you way back when.
Thank you. Well, we're flipping the switch today. You're going to be asking me questions, which I so appreciate, so the listener can get to know me and my food philosophies a little bit more as a health supportive chef and a podcast host. So I'm going to let you lead the way.
Okay. For those that haven't seen me or those that have seen me, I'm Dr. Scott Robinson, and Whitney Aronoff gets to be my guest I get to grill today. She knows my history and my background, the fact that I used to work at the Gerson Institute in Mexico and with Hulda Clark, Cure for All Diseases. But the one thing that we learned many, many years ago was food was my medicine. And being that food was my medicine, what a wonderful thing to be invited on one of my early podcasts with somebody whose food is medicine and she lives it. She walks her talk. And with that is a very special guest and the host of this podcast normally, but we actually get to do the questions. So she gets to be in the hot seat today. So
Thank you.
we have some prepared questions, and then we're going to throw her for a loop in a minute. And then, of course, she's going to throw it back at me with a hot potato so that we can finish it up. And with that, we're going to begin where it started. Okay. First thing, my reviewers, listeners, and of course yours too, want to know, how did it all begin? Especially what books shaped the way that you think and live with food?
So where did it all begin? I think it began at a very young age, just being able to feel how different meals and different foods that I eat, how it makes me feel, noticing how I feel around certain groups of people when I'm by myself at the end of the day in nature. I think I just had the opportunity to really feel how foods affect me. So with that, it led me to find books and teachers and healers to help me have a better relationship with food in a way that I think over my lifetime, there's been a lot of pressure around what you eat, right? So you go to a restaurant with friends and people get annoyed if you don't order the way they order. Has anyone ever experienced that? So if you go to a restaurant and you ask questions, it starts to make other people feel uncomfortable. So if you go to a restaurant and you ask, well, where are your eggs from? Do you really crack open the eggs, or are you using an egg mixture? What is my food cooked in? Are you using butter, olive oil, canola oil? Can I get the dressing on the side? Can I just get a steamed vegetable? So I found at a young age there was lots of pressure from people that I was friends with to order the way they order. And the fact that I didn't want to order the way they ordered, I found people would really bully and harass you. And so I had to go out and learn more about food so I could stand up to my convictions, so I could be in settings like that and feel comfortable enough to order food the way that I wanted to. And over time, that just led me to have to educate myself more so I could better communicate to people that I was around why I couldn't eat the way they ate.
So, with that, what was the first book that you read that was your own self-education?
I would say the greatest one that connected all the dots was Dr. Price's book. the main book of the Weston A. Price Foundation that
Right.
shows visual photos of generational family members of what their teeth and their face look like when they eat a traditional diet generation after generation versus what happens when sugar and processed food gets put into the family lineage. That was the first one that really changed the way I thought and gave me information that I could share with others. There were a ton of other books along the way. I just don't remember the names.
Right. But I do remember Weston and Price both talking about it. One was the dentist, and he brought up the real quick way to not only explain it in the people, but he took cats, which live shorter lives, and he showed that just in 3 generations, they were getting sicker, dying earlier, and didn't have a long lifespan whatsoever. Just 3. And so he's now taking the longer life when they studied people in the early 1900s and how they took I think the family went to Africa and began to show the influx of Western dietary changes on native peoples and how this affected the teeth and therefore the entire digestive tract because everything begins here in the mouth. So it's a great book for everybody to read about. If you haven't heard that, every year Weston Price has also a conference, so you can look it up where the next conference is. Last year it was here in Orlando. And it is important, especially when I worked at the Price Pottenger Institute in Southern California and in Mexico, and Weston Price was part of that. And I happen to know the director of it in Lemon Grove, California. So listen to Whitney. She knows about it from her own physical self, and she's aware. So this made her difference of how she was to empower herself through food. All
And
right.
just so you know, the 2026 Weston A. Price Foundation Conference is going to be in Washington, D.C. in the fall.
Excellent. And you know if it's late August or beginning of September?
Yeah, I think it's October this year.
Oh, wow, a little late. Okay.
Yeah.
But if it's something for the general public and the audience to go to it. I've been to the ones here and in San Diego where I used to live, and they're always interesting. You get to hear wonderful lectures by different doctors talking about all sorts of things. Plus, you get to eat the food because that's really
Exactly.
what it's about.
Yeah, totally. And it's the best quality. And I think this coming year down in Washington, D.C., I'm going to try to go because they'll definitely have Joe Salatin speak, whose Polyface Farm is a famous regenerative agriculture farm. And then the current president of the Weston A. Price Foundation, she has a farm based in Maryland. So they're going to be resourcing all their people in the Virginia, Maryland, DC area, all their farms. They're going to be bringing together really the best of the best in this, essential farm to table whole foods movement. So this will be an excellent conference to attend.
Excellent. And for those that don't know Whitney personally yet, you're going to get an opportunity. She does so much volunteer work when she gets a chance, and she'll actually do some things there in the Newport Beach area later this summers, if I remember. So, and everything you donate is for a good cause that backs up the farmers and the local area with organic farm food to table.
Mhm.
Actually, farm to table. So, all right. For those listening out here, and either they have heard you or haven't heard you yet, somebody listening today wants to radically improve their life, and it's through the food that they choose. What do you recommend?
I think you just simplify it and you eat real whole foods.
Which
So
are examples for those that don't know yet?
So that would be whole organic grass finished milk. It would be whole eggs, not an egg white, not an egg yolk, but a whole egg. It would be steamed broccoli. It would be roasted carrots. It would be an organic chicken breast or a chicken breast from an organic regenerative farm. It would be a steak. It would be some cilantro. It would be cooked rice, not 1 minute rice from a microwave, not rice cooked in a bag, not instant rice, no shortcuts to the rice. You've taken the rice, you've washed it, you've cooked it with water properly for the right amount of time. It's a baked potato. It is the real whole unnatured food. That's the number one thing that you can do. And if that sounds a little too complicated and you want to go a different route, start eliminating anything that is processed and fast. So don't drive through a drive-through ever again. Don't walk into any restaurant that's labeled fast food. If they can't explain how the food's made from scratch, don't eat it.
Excellent. And for our listening audience, something that I've learned through the process of elimination, I work with a lot of people who have chronic and serious illnesses, and one of the side effects for them is sometimes the starchiness from rice. So if you have any type of allergic reaction to any rice, organic or not, especially heavy metals, because rice fields get inundated with lead that comes from the sky, what we always recommend is let the rice sit and cool with a few hours in the refrigerator, which suppresses the starch reaction, and then you can eat it. The other side effect is if you leave rice in the refrigerator for 3 or more days, the probability or statistics of mold growing on that rice gets very high. So if you have any mold sensitivities or starch sensitivities, now you know, let it cool for a few hours in a refrigerator, get the starch down so that it doesn't affect your sugar. And then the next thing, don't let the rice sit in the refrigerator more than 3 days. All right. So these radical things and improvements in their health through food. Can you go through it a little bit differently now? Take them on a shopping tour of the local Whole Foods, Sprouts, something like that, and tell them the first 5 things that you would find that they need to be aware of, whether it's canned, bottled, natural, organic, stuff like that.
So when I enter Whole Foods, I only work the perimeter and go down 2 rows. Now I'm going to the vegetable section, to the fish section, to the beef and protein section. I'm going to eggs and dairy. I'm getting some raw cheese. I'm getting 100% grass finish Alexandria Farm A2 milk. I'm getting, the highest quality eggs that I can find. I'm working my perimeter still. I'm getting spices and Redmond real salt and local honey. The only aisles I'm really going down is the aisle with extra virgin olive oil, rice, olives, some of those basics. And then the other aisle is where I'm grabbing parchment paper and sponges and basic eco-friendly non-toxic soap. So that's how I'm working the grocery store. You will not find me down an aisle of cereal, of baby food, of crackers, of candy. There's a very small section that I actually look at and move through at the grocery store.
You took me when I was last there visiting with you. We went up to the Santa Barbara area to visit, to do an IANDS talk, International Association of Near-Death Studies, and we stopped at one of your vendors' stores, and they had a gorgeous store. They had juices that could be made, which was excellent. They had food that could be made right there on the premises, and nothing was pre-cooked, pre-made before you even got there. And that was a pleasure to go down the aisles, because when I was there, it was exceptional. It was above the high grade and it felt so clean and pure that you just wanted to stay there as long as possible.
Yeah, I took you to the Calabasas location of Erewhon, and that's one of the best Erewhon locations because the aisles are a little wider, the ceilings are high, it's open, it's a little lighter, you have space to walk around. Their produce section is exceptional, and what's really neat is because it's the Calabasas location, so it's essentially the farthest north Erewhon location in LA County that's closest to Ventura County, which is where all the farms start. So you're just that much closer to where the produce is coming in from. So I always find that location has excellent produce. Their hot bar has a huge draw. So all that food that's being made, the salmon, the chicken, the salads, they're moving through it fast. So they're constantly making new batches and replenishing it. So you're really getting freshly prepared food. Um, I love that location, and you nailed it. When you go to that Erewhon, you can go down every aisle and there's something of quality for your body and your mind. Versus other grocery store, there are just aisles you just should, there's no reason to ever go down. And Erewhon truly is the opposite. So thank you for bringing that up. Not every grocery store is like that.
No, and for those listening that may not be in Southern California and Calabasas, or where I am in the middle of Florida, where I'm near farms, you need to find out where your store gets its produce. Is it local, or is it shipped in 2,000 miles or more in order to get to you? Has it sat 3 days before you even get to see it and it's called fresh? Find out. Find out, and you're going to have to get to know your locale, your local store, and who they are representing. Just because it's got a big name on it doesn't mean it's got the best quality stuff in it. Be aware. You're responsible for your body and what you put in it. All right. For those listening out in our audience, what is the first of 3 changes? You can go through all 3 changes to a person's food or diet that you would suggest everybody make on their own for their own responsibility for their food and their health?
For me, it's so easy, but I made these changes long ago. Oddly enough, I started to make these changes in middle school. So if I could do it as a kid, you can do it as an informed adult. Number one, no soda. There's nothing in that aluminum can that you need. There's just nothing. There's nothing there. So just remove the soda. Number two, no food from a microwave. The microwave puts out a negative frequency. Again, there is nothing that microwave is doing and heating up and creating that serves your physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental body. So simply stop using the microwave and then start to look into what the frequency waves are of the microwave. You're going to have a hard time finding information out there because it's a very dangerous topic to discuss, and no one's willing to spend the money to pay for the studies because it doesn't benefit them. So avoid the microwave. And number three, we've touched on this before, there's no reason to eat anything from a drive-through window. There's nothing there that serves you. All of that food is old food. It is frozen food from a Cisco type factory that's just being reheated for you through a microwave and through a deep fryer filled with canola oil. You deserve better. Don't go through a drive-through.
Excellent. And for those listening, guess what? There are alternatives to cola. For instance, we'll use that as an example. You Google cola, you'll find natural recipes where you can make your own and add sparkling water to it, make a fizzy. Of course, it doesn't have cocaine in it because that was abolished way back in the 1920s. But if you want to have that taste, that flavor, the cloves, the cinnamon, and all that other stuff, go find a natural recipe that will be your little treat. The other thing most people don't know, most houses, new houses, are not coming with microwaves. People don't want them. So they're stopping the production of putting microwaves into RVs and homes. But if it comes standard, simply say, I don't want that in my house. Because the one thing we learned at the Gerson Institute very early on in my career, microwaves kill everything that's there. Number one, it's radiation and it's radar ranges. That's what it came from. The first man that invented it was actually looking for other things, and it melted the chocolate in his pocket, and he began to realize he could melt things or cook things. Well, it can also cook you. And one of the things we know, when you turn on that microwave, you can't be within 20 feet of it. So why bother having it? Because the food is now not only dead, it's deadly. All right. Third thing, you're going to go through a fast food. Well, Whitney brought it up. go to a place like Erewhon, not necessarily Whole Foods, but Erewhon for their hot food bar. If it isn't made fresh, then eat it. I mean, I'm sorry, if it's not made fresh, you don't eat it. If it's not made fresh, don't stay away from it. For instance, we learned that certain things like Whole Foods. I don't know about Sprouts, but Whole Foods, a lot of that stuff comes from a can, a bottle that's already been old before it got to you. Be aware of it. Might taste good, but it may not be good for you. How will you know it's not good for you? You don't feel good afterwards. Bottom line. I was telling Whitney last time I went to a Whole Foods. And I sat down and ate something and I went, they ask a lot of money, but it didn't taste good. It didn't make me feel good. Use your body as a tool. And if something doesn't make you feel good, then question what actually was it that you ate. Find out. Did they come from a bottle, a can? Did it come processed? Was it actually a month old in a freezer? I don't know. But the stuff at Erewhon, when I went there, was excellent. And it was beautiful. And even the people outside, we got to meet people in that area. I wish they could export Erewhon to Florida because it would be the first place that I would go to. But even ask your local Sprouts, Whole Foods, go store by store, not organization, and ask before you eat it. All righty. Now comes to the quick things that we can ask quickly and get quick answers from. As you called it, rapid fire questions and answers. All right. What's your favorite superfood?
You know what? That's a tough one because I think that fluctuates depending on how I feel. Sometimes I really like ashwagandha in a little hot water at the end of the day to calm my nervous system. But the other thing I really enjoy, and I consider it a superfood, is taking a vitamin C supplement.
And it depends on which vitamin C supplement. Today, as you know, vitamin C is actually water soluble. In order to make it more absorbable and stay in your body longer so you don't pee it out, they're adding lipozymes or fat to it, fat molecules. So let's go over a vitamin C that has lipozymal fat in it to use it to bind it to keep it in your system. What do you like?
So I'd like to do two different options for vitamin C. So when I came to your office last and I did the blood test with Ricky, it came up that I had low vitamin C levels. So I decided to tackle that by two different routes. So I take the traditional vitamin C, that's camu camu, amal, all those dried fruits in a capsule. So it's the pure natural stuff. And then I also like to do a liposomal vitamin C as well, which I do a brand. I don't know if it's the best, but I do a liposomal packet.
Right, and it's the one you suck on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not my favorite flavor, but it does work. Now, I like Solaray. People go, Solaray?
Yeah.
And that's because it muscle tests well with me. And my mom and dad's company, General Research Laboratories, it's out of business at the moment after they passed away. But I used to like something from them that unfortunately isn't made. But Solaray took over the contract for that, and they make a liposomal fat-based vitamin C. And you're going to go, why do you want a fat-based? Because it stays in your system. Today's toxins in the environment, especially in Southern California and anywhere else where there's a polluted area, a large population, you want that fat soluble vitamin C version so it stays within your system and it can help repair the tissues in your body. So that's why I picked that one. And it muscle tested well. All right. What, in your opinion and your feelings, is the most underrated food that people should be eating for their own health? And we can flip the coin. What's the worst one?
I think the worst thing that people are eating for their health is processed frozen meals.
All right.
So people who are stuck to eating frozen food, and that might not just be them, but it might be for their kids. So that's, leaning towards all these frozen chicken nuggets, taquitos, all this processed food, hot dogs, like anything that had to have been made in a factory and can't be made by hand. I think that's the worst thing. The best thing that someone can do for their health is eat something that's fresh, growing within 50 miles from their home. And that will change every season.
And how about recommending to people what they should actually grow, even in an apartment? What would you grow in your apartment, on your deck, or outside if you have a small plot of land? What would you grow to have there with you so you could use it every day?
So the only thing that I've been able to consistently grow with success is rosemary, because the squirrels won't eat the rosemary. And so I'm able to use it in salad dressings, when I cook meats, when I make bone broth, when you make a bath with Epsom salts. The rosemary can always be used. Every time I try to grow oregano, cilantro, parsley, anything else, the squirrels think I've planted it for them, and they will eat it down to the bone. And there's no remnants of my incredibly sourced whole food plant. So currently where I am, I have hungry squirrels. And so it doesn't give me the flexibility to grow the things that I want.
All right. And for those living in apartments and condos, go to the third floor because believe it or not, we've had squirrels on the second floor who seem to learn how to crawl up. But after the second floor, they seem to let go of it. So just be aware what height you're at and what building you're in will make a determination.
Yeah, I know I could just buy a bunch of chicken wire and wrap that around the plant, but ultimately, once I take off the chicken wire and like let the plant be free, the squirrels are going to come and eat it all. I know my neighbors. They will just, devour.
And I've been there. I've seen your squirrels go crazy about what you have. Seems to know they know it, what's the best food for them, and they go for it.
Yeah.
So even my brother up in Buffalo, he said he planted all these bulbs for the spring. First thing that the squirrels dug up through the snow and through the ground was these bulbs for the spring plants. So, hey, best fed squirrels in all of Buffalo.
Yeah,
All
good
right,
for them.
name a food that everybody should avoid other than what we already discussed with frozen foods. What's the name? What is a food that everybody should avoid?
I think people should pull back a little. Well, number one thing I think people should avoid is shark. Oddly enough, you do see shark for sale in Southern California. And I even went over to a family dinner one night at my aunt and uncle's, and my uncle grilled me a piece of shark, which horrified me. More than anything, your body can't digest it. It is such tough, rubbery meat. It's not good for the digestive system. Yes, there are cultures with recipes that call for shark fin, and they have a variety of reasons why they eat this, and this is important to them. But a traditional piece of shark grilled is not good for your body. It's the whole point of eating is for a transfer of energy, and you're not going to get a transfer of energy when you're eating something like that that's going to take all this energy to digest. So I would avoid shark. The other thing that I would limit is octopus and pork, because again, those are two foods that are extremely hard for the body to digest.
Good. Now, for those out there asking, hey, I thought shark was supposed to be good for you, especially cancer patients or regrowing bones or tissues after chemotherapy. Well, that might be the case. That might be the limited reason for. But since I lived on a raw food diet, it's not easy to eat shark. It's really hard to chew it. Number one, it's really chewy, but it's like soft. It's very soft. But I think the shark is impervious to cancers simply because of how and what it eats raw food and what it needs for its particular body. And years ago, they used to use shark cartilage for cancer patients, and that was a way after chemotherapy that they could restore their health. Now, remember, this is a supplement at this point, It's not the actual shark itself. If you know where the shark is coming from, that's one story. But today, sharks are eating things that themselves have digested poisons, toxins, and chemicals. And even now, it's really funny. What used to be good, sharks are now showing up with something they haven't in modern day, and that was tumors. Sharks were known for destroying tumors. That's why people ate them. But now, because of toxicity, even sharks are having issues with those particular things. And again, it's because of the toxicity and the plastics that are coming in from what's being sprayed in the sky. All right, next question. The number one supplement everyone should be taking.
You know, you're really the expert when it comes to supplements, but I have been a big fan of two things in the past 6 months, and I've shared this with my parents and I've had them take it too, is I love the vitamin C supplements that we've talked about, and I've noticed a huge difference in my quality of health by taking it every day and in my parents' health, and then raw local honey. I love a spoonful of raw local honey just about every day as my dessert. And it's just so good for connecting you to your environment, for allergies, for health, for a good night's sleep. I'm a big fan of actually looking at honey as a supplement and taking it.
And as you know, you will find local honeys wherever you are, as long as there's beekeepers. But Whitney makes an absolutely wonderful honey-based cream, raw cream, there in Southern California. And when I need to go to sleep and rest, especially after I've traveled long ways, 2,000 miles to go see her, she makes me raw cream with that raw honey. And I was like, I could not get enough of it. So it's a form of our raw ice cream with its instead of sugar. Now, for instance, my brother will say, well, sugar is sugar. Any source of sugar, that's my brother, because that's his doctor tell his daughter they can't have any version. And then as she's grown out of that, she's able to utilize other things. But for those people who are sensitive, no, you simply modulate the amount of honey, muscle test it. If you don't, make sure you can ask about that so that you get the right raw honey, honey that hasn't been sprayed. Of course, if you spray too much, the bees die. And make sure you're getting a clean source of that honey and what it is, including if it has the real actual comb in it, honeycomb. People used to use that as chewing gum. And that was actually, yeah, where they started was the honeycomb was the chewing. They would chew on the honeycomb. And it would have the propolis in it as well as the honey itself. So you got the benefits of both. And the propolis has both a protein, because it feeds the little bees to grow, and it's also good for the immune system. So that's good. And of course, they talk about Melaleuca honey, which comes from southern Australia, and the importance that is in keeping bee populations alive and well. And it's very, very powerful, 40 times more powerful than normal raw honey, and it's used for the immune system. Does it work for everybody? No. But it is known for helping support the immune system. It's very expensive. It's hard to get it. So
It's also in New Zealand, but what's really interesting is really there are powerful honeys around the world that you can't import, that can't be shipped. And my brother, when he was living in Vietnam, in South Vietnam, he shared with me a honey that comes from the border of Vietnam and Cambodia. And it's what they use to put on cuts and scars, and it completely fades the cut and scar. And it is so alive that you can't put a lid on the honey. It
it'll
will
kill it.
pop off.
Oh, it literally, it like a yeast, it'll pop. Oh, it keeps
The
growing.
lid pops off the honey because the honey is so alive and powerful. It's the neatest thing, and it's delicious.
It's also antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal. People go, honey? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean you take such a huge spoon of it that your blood sugar goes out of whack. But yes, in a small amount, just like a supplement, but a natural supplement, this will be very useful. And if you put it in the raw cream, oh, it's a surprise every day. So, next thing, what's the best health habit that I know you added this year?
Question. I mean, my favorite health habit is using frequency machines. Is using
which
the
are right behind Whitney, right there.
is using the Doug Coil, and then using the two machines that you have, which are my favorite. Can you share the two frequency machines that you have?
One is called a Pulsar Pro 2, made by our friend Ricky Wilbur, who does our live cell analysis every 3 to 6 months in our office. And that he made that. It takes a lot of the different machines, my Doug Coil, which is big and heavy, and mixes it with my molecular enhancer, which produces ozone and increases oxygenation. And it puts it on a self-used, easy to use disc, a CD-ROM, puts it into the machine, and it runs its own program. That's number one. And then, of course, I have my big Doug Coil, which is my 15-year-old machine, which dates way back. It was one of the original machines like Royal Raymond Rife would have used, only modernized in the 60s and 70s, where I hit a specific frequency and used for a specific target, whether it's parasites, fungus, mold, whatever it is. It can be used for a specific thing. And we use the CALF programming, consolidated annotated frequency list, so it's FL. With that, we'll take that off and use it for a specific issue a person has. And all it tells me is it's not a diagnosis. What is the person missing in their bodies at this time? And we actually supplement with that specific frequency. So is it diagnosing and treating? No. It's just whatever's missing, we supplement. Now, the last one is something you heard me call a molecular enhancer. I work with this huge machine. You either have a huge tower, like a Tesla tower, that my friend up in Washington State invented by accident. Nothing happens really by accident. And this molecular enhancer will make you glow orange. It also can get rid of the side effects of COVID, long COVID. Actually gets rid of all vaccine spike proteins within 2 visits. It's very easy. But instead of glowing nose with a luciferase enzyme, notice the name Lucifer enzyme, people who had COVID vaccines and their subsequent extra bonus vaccines, they will glow in a dark room under ultraviolet light, and there will be kind of an orangey red. That's called the luciferase enzyme, luciferase. Like Lucifer, who named this? Well, evil's attempt to cause harm to humanity. So when this goes on, it turns it orange, kills the side effects of the spike proteins, clears it out, and it will come out on this big ball that you've seen. Literally, all that stuff comes right out onto this bulb, and you have to be careful. You can't touch it, otherwise it'll go into you. We have to clean it off carefully and then use it. Its big brother is a tower that stands about 7 feet tall, weighs 250 pounds. And the first time I ever used it, I didn't need my glasses for 2.5 days. Matter of fact, when I put my glasses on, I couldn't see with them. And I've only recently used it because I had to change my prescription. But in the long run, that's my next goal, is to get the not the Doug Coil, not the molecular enhancer, but the big one. That's a combination of two. And that one is called a Tesla Tower. And it's made by Dan Dial in Shelton, Washington. That's on my wish list. Costs $42,500 with the shipping. Wonderful machine. 2 hours, makes a major change. That actual device can actually melt a tumor 2/3 of the way in 2 hours. You go melt a tumor. Yeah, the side effect is if it melts it too quickly, you can get very ill. So you take your time, and it only does it on the first one. I've seen it with breast cancer patients, and it does not shrink it after that because of the amount of blood or liquid that was in that growth, and that shrinks. After that, now it's going to take some work, weeks, if not months, or even a year before that will actually help it. Now, can it be used for that purpose? Diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment? No. According to the state of Washington, those particular molecular enhancers and Dan Dial coils are only there for one thing. They increase oxygenation of the tissues. Now, the ones I've seen in California, there in Beverly Hills, are used for veterinarians. So if the vet says hold your dog and you happen to be able to sit in front of it, there is a Doug Coil. Excuse me, not a Doug Coil. There is a molecular enhancer tower in one of the Beverly Hills vets that I know of, but he can't make any claims. And of course, the FDA will come down on you so hard making claims. So the state of Washington only has it as an increase in oxygenation to the tissues. What does cancer tumors not like? Doesn't like oxygen. And our environment years ago, before modern day technology and pollution, had a much more increased oxygenation of breathable air. Today, it's less than 5%. Back 150 years ago, oxygenation of the tissues was 20%. When you breathe air, it was 20% oxygen. And that's why hyperbaric chambers are used today for athletes and all sorts of other things for healing. So, Whitney's talked about the one behind her, and that is actually called a Doug Coil, a 1960s, 70s modification of the original Raymond Royal Rife machine. Now, it's not the same machine. It has to be done. It's a little slow on the uptake, but you can really increase that power. You see the little green coil back there, and you find out what the issue is, or we muscle test for them. In my case, I ask God, and we'll find out what's needed. We give it to you, and it's amazing. That machine back in 2012 was like the answer, because I used to work with Hulda Clark, and she had this thing called a zapper. It was never powerful enough. And I needed something to get rid of the parasites. This was before ivermectin and fenbendazole. And that machine really helped a lot. Took away pain. And as a chiropractor, that was really useful in restoring joint issues, helping restore the different areas that hurt, is anti-inflammatory. And we use it as my backup for everything. Now, Whitney has one right there because it was donated to us in our church. And we are planning eventually one day to use that in a clinic in Southern California.
Yes.
Whitney gets to use it firsthand, so she knows very well what a Doug Coil can do.
But
And
definitely the dream is that we have a location out here in Southern California with all of these lovely contraptions that make us feel good.
right
That's the ultimate.
now, my ultimate thing, though, it always goes back to doing Einstein with a lot of my people, because God is the greatest physician and there is no incurable, only people who cannot believe. However, these machines will help you get through those tough times when you start to detox, and you will know it. It has helped tremendously. Years ago, before the current administration in Washington, those were not even allowed on the street or publicly discussed because they wouldn't even talk about it. Now they can't do anything about them. We just want to make sure that people are aware of them because they are very beneficial in helping someone heal. Here's the one caveat: no matter you have those machines or what I have, if you don't clear the emotions along with any other spiritually minded issue that you may be carrying as a burden in this lifetime, you won't heal even with the machine. So that machine is great, but you must clear the emotions: anger, rage, resentment, fears, worries, doubts, sadness, hurt, or grief before any of those things will work. Now, you're going to be on a diet, a special diet where food is your medicine. Well, know that the food may be bringing out toxic chemicals and your emotions may go off base for a while. Know it, clear the emotions. The machines then come in very helpful, and a person starts to say, hey, I went to the doctor and they can't find anything wrong with me. Number one, their food is their medicine, and God is the greatest physician, and everything has been divinely guided for the right physician or doctor, healer or helper, or food they need for their body. So let's wrap this up with one question. One question that you know very well. The number one food trend today in the United States or the West, I call it the Western culture, that's wrong, inappropriate, and it actually might be harming you. What's that one last thing?
It's protein powder. I don't
Explain
think
why.
I don't think anybody should be using protein powder because it's a denatured food and it's a separated food. So protein isn't powdered. So you can't take a whole food, dehydrate it, turn it into a powder, and then slip it in a smoothie. And that's not what you're getting in those bags. Most of those protein powder bags are filled with something called pea protein. And that is not good for your gut. It's not a great source of protein. It's a byproduct food. So if you actually look at the ingredients for most of this protein powder, it's actually a bunch of waste. So you have to understand how the American food system works. If you look at foods that are coming from factories, where there is a leftover, where there is waste, they look at how they can take that waste and resell it, for more profit. That is your protein powder. They're taking waste and they're taking denatured, separated foods, and they're dehydrating it, grinding it up, throwing it into a bag, calling it protein powder, adding quote unquote natural flavors, which are filled with chemicals. If they can't list out the ingredients of natural flavors, then there's nothing in there that serves you. It's again more chemicals. They're adding processed sugars. And now you're putting that in a blender with a bunch of frozen fruit and ice, and you think you're having a healthy meal. But having cold meals at breakfast time puts out your digestive fire. It's like you're getting up in the morning and you're taking a bucket of ice and you're throwing it on the fire in your fireplace. And then you're wondering why you're having a stomach ache all day because you just put out the fire. Your digestive system can no longer work. So the whole protein powder smoothie movement, I've been saying this since like 2014. Nobody has wanted to hear me. Use it as a treat. A smoothie is a treat. It's a dessert. It's a special occasion. It's when you're really craving it. That's not health and that's not life. You should not be eating a smoothie every day. You should not be living off protein powders. That's not real whole food. It's lifeless.
I agree with you. And I found I could never eat protein that was made from pea protein.
Yeah.
It was not protein for me. I could not digest it. Uh, Today's something that the audience needs to know. Today, 100+ years since industrialization began, there are more than 1,000, not 100, not 10,000. There's more than 1,000 diseases in a doctor's plate of information that they have to deal with that never existed before modern industrialization post World War One. And as a result, because what did they spray on it? Pesticides, chemicals, fertilizers, oil-based derivatives that are the oil they put in cars, not food grade. And I don't count canola oil, which is another name for rapeseed that comes from Canada, Canadian Oil Company. They grew that originally World War II for a byproduct that could be used for equipment in World War II to lubricate their trucks, cars, planes, everything. That's what it was originally made for. After World War II, they said, what are we going to do with this? They turned it into a healthy food. Let me tell you, you can't digest canola oil. Never gets there, never digested, gets stuck in your immune system and in your lymph nodes. And it is a bear to get rid of. Can take years. So, not digestible. All these other oils, if it wasn't made in nature as an oil, don't eat it. Olive oil, been going on for generations and thousands of years. Very few other oils were ever naturally produced because ancient man or woman was using it. So be aware of that. So it's important. If your body just doesn't feel good, it might be because you live in a city. If it doesn't feel good for other reasons, it might be because what they're spraying up in the sky for national security. If you're still not feeling good, then ask your body, which is the best tool that God gave us, is this working for me? Even if it's organic, might not work for you. I found that the only organic bread I can eat is my sister's sourdough because she makes it by hand. I never have a stomach ache, never have a problem, and I always feel satisfied after the organic bread made from sourdough. Very interesting thing, Whitney, is women who eat organic sourdough, hopefully they've made it themselves. It's not an easy bread to make, lowers the risk of breast cancer because the type of bacteria used in making sourdough actually reduces the risk of the parasites, mold, funguses that a woman would be aware of or affecting her in her lymph nodes, thereby reducing the side effects or the issues that would develop into breast cancer. So, there's a lot of other things we can talk about as to why, emotions, chemicals, especially
Mhm.
dry cleaning, but sourdough bread, organic sourdough bread, is some of the best stuff. Now, the other thing people don't talk about, gluten-free bread can be just as bad, if not, of other stuff. I can't eat a lot of gluten-free bread. It's just as bad, whether it's pea protein or others. My body just can't digest whatever this particular bread is in. Now, there's these things called o'douls or o'doughs. It's these really thin bagel slices. And whatever's in it, it's the only thing I can eat other than the sourdough. But a lot of these organic gluten frees still have issues in a person's gut. You need to check it out. And if you're feeling bloated or don't feel good after eating even a gluten free organic bread, maybe that's not for you. So you know really well about yeast and other side effects, but organic sourdough is a different kind of yeast. It's a natural yeast, which is hard to produce, comes naturally in the air,
Mhm.
not in a little packet you've added to bread.
Yes, I really suggest that everybody avoids any bread that is made with a yeast packet, and that includes all pizza in the United States. No, because all pizza in the United States are using those yeast packets. And that's not natural. It's a processed food. And the Weston A. Price Foundation talks about this a lot. I mean, but all you have to do is test how you feel after eating bread that you know uses a yeast packet with sugar, because they have to add sugar to it,
To make the yeast
versus
packet.
real sourdough. It's a completely different feel, and it's not the same yeast. So I just personally, over the years, I will not touch anything that I know requires a yeast packet. That includes cinnamon rolls. Like, a lot of baked goods require those yeast packets.
Right. And very interesting story. This is my buddy from Texas who used to work with brain cancer patients. Yeast today, as we know it, has been genetically modified so much, even if it's organic. It is now associated with the number one things that governments use in molecular warfare, biological and chemical warfare, is they took the original yeasts and modified it to make many things that cause problems. And if you go back into who manufactures something or gets a patent on a new disease state, you'll read, and it's in the research back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, how they've genetically modified yeast and all these other things to actually make genetically modified. I think the first 18 to 20 diseases today were actually chemical and biological warfare things made when the United States was trying to fight the Soviet Union way back during the Cold War. Find out what the truth is means reading, means taking responsibility, means not listening to everything that's said on the news or everything said by the FDA. Start listening to your body, because your body is the greatest tool. And just because your doctor recommends it, maybe they don't know about it. And that's why we teach alternative, complementary, integrative, and spiritual medicine, because God is the greatest physician and there is no incurable, only people who cannot believe in their own help and healing. That's why we teach Einstein on the weekends. So we do that. And starting in April, as you know, Whitney, because you're going to be invited to do some of the teaching, we're going to be teaching doctors, healthcare practitioners in alternative, complementary, integrative, and spiritual medicine. And if you want to audit the course just because you'd like to learn, go to my website, therearenolinsinheaven.com, and say, I want to find out more how I can audit the course. But because I'm also a church, a 508 C1A, theocentric eleemosynary. I won't turn anybody down that says they want to be at my course, and that calls for a donation from the heart. You must come from your heart, but I want people to learn about this. Yes, this is a way of helping me help other people, but like yourself, you're going to be one of my teachers. I want people to learn firsthand from people who have survived chronic and serious illnesses and, like myself, have had near-death experiences, who come back with a specific mission and purpose in life. And for those that don't know, Whitney, she knows her mission and purpose in life. She walks her talk and she takes it with her every day. And Whitney, what is your program and the name of your company and the name of your product?
So my business is called Starseed Kitchen. I have a line of organic spice blends called Starseed Kitchen, which are sold at local butcher shops, Erewhon, and on my website, starseedkitchen.com. And what I'm most proud of is Team Starseed Kitchen. It's our personal chef service. So I've designed a personal chef service so you can have custom meal prep at home. You can have food designed exactly for how it works with your body and your lifestyle and where you need support. So we align a personal chef to cook just for you, deliver your meals to your home, or cook on site and serve you dinner. And we have Team Starseed Kitchen chefs across the country. And that's what I'm most proud of that we do, is being able to help people and serve people where they are and help get them on track.
Excellent. Because I know from working with the Gerson Institute and Hilda Clark, I used to live with clients for a whole week, teach them how to cook, clean, and care for themselves. And where were you 20 years ago? But I know where you were 20 years ago. And in this case, she can help a lot of the clients I work with who need that firsthand help to get through the toughest times some in their lives. Whitney and her crew all over the country will be there to support you, assist you until you can learn to do this for yourself. And if you can afford it for any other reason other than chronic illness, Whitney's crew is there just to help you with your life and some of the best
Yeah.
food made for you fresh so that you can have it pre-made. You're busy, yeah, you do well financially, you're doing it. And if you have chronic challenges, that's the other alternative. You have somebody that can help you out who knows how to cook for you and what you need for your own help and healing. Isn't it great when two people do the things that they love and they can share this with the outside world, whoever's
Yeah.
listening to this?
Yeah, and everything we do complements each other because, as we talked about at the beginning, it's a physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental approach to well being. And so you work on meridians and the spine and the energetic body and the spiritual body, the emotional body, and I'm working in more of the physical space and more of the 3D. You're more in the 5D. But they complement each other because you can't do one without the other, right? You
Not in
need
this
to be
world.
eating, yeah, you have to be eating real, whole, simple, seasonal food for the work that you do with clients, the frequency machine, the clearing the trapped emotions, making sure that their spiritual body is healthy, clean, and vibrant. You can't get there if you're still filling the car with junk and fast food.
Exactly.
So you have to change the fuel, and then all the other tune-ups you do on the vehicle are going to work more efficiently, right?
Yes, your body is a tool. Learn to use it appropriately, and that is learn to eat for not only your body type or blood type, but learn to eat what you need for your body, including the little treats that you can add along the way that maybe Whitney is a little different than mine, but she makes all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, wow, I got to have that recipe. And
Well, the one thing you and I both love are dates, and dates are incredible sweet treats. They're great kind of little natural superfoods. And I think sometimes when we talk about food and health and healing, people think there's a lot of deprivation, but there's just looking at delicious food in new ways.
yeah, now I like to add raw coconut that I just shredded and I add it to that little date. Mm, coconut is detoxifying. The dates are actually good for your thyroid, and it is an excellent source of something that is a little different than honey and not real sugar in the sense of purified or been taken out of its original reason for being. So I want to say thank you for inviting me to interview you today. And thank you for the ability to participate so that we can get our message across to as many people as possible. And again, the name of your company is?
Starseed Kitchen.
And mine is There Are No Lines in Heaven. And how do they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Whitney Aronoff, at Starseed Kitchen, or at Team Starseed Kitchen. And then everything they can find and contact me is through starseedkitchen.com.
Excellent. And for me, healer to be sure at gmail.com. That's HEALER, the number 2, the letter B as in boy, sure, SURE at gmail.com. Or I'm going to give you my phone number, 760-917-2625. That's area code 760-917-2625. And you can actually text me there. And if you want to know about my classes for doctors and healing practitioners or the general public, or if you want to learn how to do Einstellen on any given Sunday, let me know. And that's for free. That's always free. Einstellen is always free. And you may even see Whitney Aronoff there. Anything else that we want to cover, Whitney, before we let our audiences off the hook?
Question for you, because we touched on this a little bit today, but I'd like to know a little bit more from you. What are 1 to 3 supplements you would like to see more people add into their life? Since you come from a family that had a supplement company, you are a practitioner, you do muscle testing on people all the time in regards to this. What are you seeing that more people should consider having into their life when it comes to supplements?
Number 1, and I talk about this in my book, There Are No Lines in Heaven, what you put in your mouth, literally, how this is affected will affect the rest of your body. It's the beginning of the gut, but it's also the bacteria and everything else in here that must be aligned. So number 1, enzymes for proper digestion. Okay. Number 2, believe it or not, natural thyroid extract. It will actually control the bacteria in your mouth. It'll help your skin because a lot of people don't actually take enough thyroid in their system. And there's one particular company that's made with natural thyroid, and it's a drop bottle. Love it. Third thing, we talked about enzymes. We've talked about vitamin C earlier. We have thyroid and then oregano oil. You want to control your gut bacteria, which is usually something in staph or strep that's come from a long time ago. Antibiotic usage, the regular usage of oregano oil. I like to use drops also because it's easily absorbed in the mouth along with the natural thyroids. And then that will help a lot. If you want to detox, there are certain types of natural clays. I know we went over 3, but that are actually good, and natural forms of zeolite if you can get it, or the combination. I like to take baths with borax, natural borax. I like to take which got boron in it, and boron stops replication of the nanobots from vaccines. So boron or boric acid, or not boric acid, borax itself, used with baking soda and sea salt is a way of detoxifying, and it will actually take out radiation, and you'll see a green color in the water that will indicate that. The last thing is something new that you have to really research, and that's methyl blue or methylene blue, used in fish tanks for years to help keep the bacteria down for the fish and the mold. But it was actually invented as a dye way back at the early 19th, 20th century, when it was originally found that it had antibacterial properties. It's very good for helping clear your brain fog, and other things as a result of spike proteins and other stuff. But make sure it's made in the United States. Make sure it doesn't come from China. China produces 95% of all methylene blue. Be aware that your product needs to come from within the United States, and you need to find out the right dosage for you and your age group. So those are my favorites right now.
Thank you. And then final question. Well, I swear we'll wrap this up, friends. But, when you have Dr. Scott here, there's just 50 million questions that you want to ask because, You're such a wealth of resource, yet, and you're so connected to God. So I appreciate, what you share. Um, when is the next time you are opening your practice with Ricky for people who are interested in having the live blood cell analysis? Which then, when they do the live blood cell analysis, then they have the pleasure of having you there so they can muscle test to make sure and get clarity on the supplements they should order
Right.
afterwards.
Is it working for you just because they recommend it? Is it actually being absorbed by your body? He will be
Yes.
here in May of 2026. He was here back in, was it January or February last time we had him here? But he goes and makes the rounds to 7 different doctors' offices. We're going to be in the Altamont Springs area. We don't know where yet. We're moving our old office to a new location. It's not ready for us to move into. But by the time he comes in mid to late May, we will have a location. It's just north of Orlando, Florida. And if you want to make an appointment with Ricky, please let us know and we'll tell you the address as soon as we know, because we're tape recording this middle of March at the moment. And we'll know just by the time I come back from opening a clinic for people who've lost family members in Fort Myers, Cape Coral, as a result of suicide and or because of an accident where they caused the loss of family members. So we're helping someone open a new clinic where they will take over, but we're going to be doing that on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of March down that area in Florida. When I get back, I'll be doing a talk in St. Augustine's, Florida, IANS, International Association of Near-Death Studies. So by that time, we will be able to tell you the address. Go to my website, go in there, conversation, comment, question. We'll tell you where. And Ricky Wilbur is the best when it comes to finding out, we won't call it diagnosing or prognosing, but finding out what's in your blood and what needs to be cleared. It's not your normal blood test. And in some states, they make it downright illegal to do it. But here, he's not diagnosing and prognosing. He's just telling you what he's seeing, what he's finding, and what you need to clear it up. And we know that for a fact because both Whitney and I have worked with Ricky personally, and it's made profound changes and differences for the both of us. And how can we help other people if we ourselves aren't walking our talk and doing what we say works? I will only recommend it to anybody if I have tried it and it's worked for me. If it hasn't worked for me, I don't promote anybody's stuff unless it actually has helped me, because there's nothing worth promoting if it's causing harm for my client members and God's patients. So thank you for bringing that up, Whitney. And I'm looking forward to having you, Whitney, come out to visit with us in May.
Me too. I think so as well. Well, I love you, Dr. Scott. Thank you for everything that you shared today.
And thank you, and I love you too. You're part of the family. I call Whitney Mishpacha, extended family from the heart. I look forward to seeing more of you, both online and in person, and to come for the free teaching on how to do Einstellen, tuning into the source and asking for help and healing. God bless to everybody out there, and the combination of Starseed Kitchens and There Are No Lines in Heaven. I thank you and loved everybody. Bye-bye.